Okay, Namaskar everybody. On behalf of US Marathi Global आणि त्याचे डायरेक्टर, आज I welcome Ambassador Swati Dandekar. Swati Dandekar, it is great privilege and honor of all of us to have us amongst us. We look forward to listen to you, and your words of wisdom will take us very long way. I'll talk a little bit about US Marathi. US Marathi Global is an organization which is a non-profit registered company in state of California, as well as US Marathi Global Foundation is a non-profit registered Section 8 company in Maharashtra. Our main purpose is to get together Marathi people around the world on a platform of education, entrepreneurship, giving back to society, mentoring, and celebrating success of fellow Marathis. Doing this, we always invite our community leaders from whom we can learn a lot. And with the same thing, today we are really lucky that Ambassador Swati Dandekar is amongst us. There is a lot to learn from us, and I know her personally on one-to-one basis also, and many times during our discussions, it came forward that we don't represent ourselves properly, which is a need of time. With that, I requested her that please guide us as how we can be on a political table. Having said that, US Marathi is a non-profit. It will be not a political discussion, but it will be only how we can integrate ourselves into the system so that maybe those who are born in USA in a generation or two can be there at the highest office in USA also. With that, I invite Swati Dandekar to start the proceedings. Namaskar, Swati.
Namaskar, namaskar. Good morning, everybody. And before I say a few words, I see my cousin Sanjay Lambor and his wife Suchita here. And तो त्याच्या ताईने त्याला hello नाही म्हटलं तर I could get into trouble and with the family. He's doctor and very, very nice. माझा भाऊ आहे तो, so I adore both of them, and I have lots of friends, so I'm not going to individually call them out because I might forget somebody and I will get into trouble.
Yeah.
So again, namaskar and good morning. I will try to speak in Marathi as much as possible. पण मी आनंद आणि नितीन जोशी आनंद गानू आणि नितीन जोशीला म्हटलं होतं की I was born in Gujarat, and afterwards I went to Nagpur where there is more of a Hindi influence, आणि मी टाटा पारसी शाळेत गेली होती. So the chances of me speaking अस्खलित Marathi was almost zero. माझ्या सासूबाई लोकांना सांगायच्या की ती आमच्या घरात आली आणि तिचं मराठी सुधारला. That's what she used to tell everybody, and I agreed with her because Dandekar family really they are very good in Marathi. So I do have my husband here. So I'm going to let Arvind say hello to everyone.
Hi Arvind.
Hello Arvind.
Thank you Arvind.
And so I'm going to talk a little bit what Anand and Nitin had said about. Nitin, you want to ask?
Yeah, Nitin will take up the proceedings from here. From here, Nitin will take over.
Thank you, everybody. I'm very sorry because of the clock change, the Eastern time 11. I took it as Central time, but anyhow, you don't need any introduction to Swati Dandekar, Ambassador Dandekar, as we refer her, because of her. And we'll come to that as to how she is being called that after being a senator for the Iowa State. But let me just ask you the basic question. I would like to know for everybody the highlights of your journey from the day you landed into this dreamland, as such, as we used to call it. Used to, I should say, not anymore, because the world has become a global community right now. Anyhow, so you landed in the US many years ago, and now you've been the senator. So tell us a little bit about the journey so far, as to how your political career has shaped up from basically the grassroots levels, as much as I know. तर तुमची सुरुवात कशी झाली आणि या पदापर्यंत तुम्ही कशा पोहोचलात हे लोकांना ऐकायला नक्कीच आवडेल असं मला वाटतं.
Well, again, Anand and Nitin, thank you for asking me to be here today. It's an honor, and Dr. Bodhankar also was part of that encouragement. Um, I'm really honored to be part of this group. Uh, a little bit about me in 70s, like most of those who came here in 70s, मी घर सगळं लग्न माझं अरविंदचं नोव्हेंबर 1972 मध्ये लग्न झालं आणि त्याच्यानंतर 73 10 फेब्रुवारीला I came to United States and I had no idea what I was coming to. Arvind, I always tell people, माझ्या American friends na suda when I talk about it, I had lots of apprehension, excitement, and also anxiety that I was going to leave my family, my extended family, because I grew up with my grandparents and my great grandparents in India. And the reason I was in Nagpur because that in those days, good education was not available in small towns where my father was. He was in ACC Associated Cement Companies, and they didn't have good education system in small towns. So I stayed with my grandparents. But after marriage, I came on 10th of February to what we call Cedar Rapids, Iowa. We have, we were not in big city or any, Arvind was at Rockwell, what that time was Collins Avionics or Rockwell International. And he was working as an engineer there. So I always tell people that he told me to make sure that I had a good coat, never mentioned that I should have good shoes and socks either. So I had this gray color coat I had stitched in Nagpur with a matching gray sandals. And that's how I landed in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. It was 92 degrees Fahrenheit in Mumbai when I boarded the plane. And it was 10 below zero Fahrenheit when I landed in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And my American friends who looked at that time, they just were there. They were engineers and their wives from Rockwell who had come to welcome me. When they looked at me, they told Arvind, we will have to teach her a lot. And of course they did. And like I talked to Rajiv, I had learned lots of things in Nagpur. I give credit to Jain Tata Parsi Girls High School for my great education. I give credit to Nagpur University for my college education. And I give credit to my parents and grandparents and great-grandparents for my upbringing. I really feel that जे आपल्यामध्ये म्हणतात की चांगलं वळण लावलं आणि माझ्या पंजोबांनी जे मला सांगितलं जेव्हा I was ready to come to, I was one of the lucky ones. माझे पंजोबा alive होते when I boarded before I came to United States. He died 6 months after I came to United States. माझ्या पंजोबांनी मला एक advice दिला होता, which always, and this is from my mother's side, Dr. Upasni, Dr. Bodhankar, you must have heard about him. Dr. Upasni माझे आजोबा आणि पंजोबा होते. माझ्या पंजोबांनी मला ऍडवाइस दिला होता. जेव्हा मी त्यांना म्हटलं की मोठे बाबा आय एम गोइंग टू अमेरिका, मला थोडी भीती वाटते आहे, तर ते म्हणे ते साहजिक आहे. आणि मी त्यांना म्हटलं अँड आय होप की ते लोक मला एक्सेप्ट करतील. So that time he asked me this question, ki tu uthun challi hai American, you're going because you married Arvind, and so why should they accept you first? That was his question. He said, if you accept them, he was pretty sure 99% of the people will accept me. And त्यांचं असं म्हणणं होतं, in those days in 70s, not very many people came to United States, Nitin and Anand, because that time it was not a global economy, the world was not so small. He said, how many young girls will have an opportunity to learn best of both cultures? He told me that always be proud of your culture, but don't have an attitude that you are the best. Be modest. Look at their culture and see what is it they have in their culture that you can learn. And I took his advice at heart, and that's how I have led my life. I always feel that people of different cultures have always something to teach us. And we also should be proud of our culture and always tell them why we are proud of our culture. So that was my uh, goal when I came here. And as of course, I wanted to take a job because I'm a scientist. But I found out when I came here, and of course, in a few months I was expecting my first child. I found out that the women were not paid as much as the men were in those days. It was even less than what we have today. The equality issue is still there. I talked about it a few days back for Women's International Day. And I stayed home to raise my two boys. But I had made a deal with Arvind that what I'll do is I will go and get my PhD after the boys go to college, or I will go to France to learn how to cook French cooking, because cooking is my hobby. But I feel that God had totally different plan for me, and it's very similar to what my Panzoba had said. Always have a plan, always have a goal, but be prepared. God may have a totally different path for you. And my goal was to become either get a doctorate and be a professor in a college in Iowa, or become a famous chef and have a great restaurant. These were two totally opposite ends. But when I stayed home, I decided with Arvind and we decided that my personality was not a person who was just going to stay home. So what I used to do is I used to tutor kids in sciences, in math, and in English spellings, the little ones, the second graders and third graders. I used to help them with their spelling tests. And I always compliment my little third graders and second graders and third graders, because they were the ones who told me how to improve my accent, American accent. I remember this young boy, very bright boy, who did not score 100% on his spelling test. He went home and told his mother that the reason he scored poorly is because I did not say the word right. And so I had to ask him, so how do I say it? And to make long story short, as time passed, I became very much involved in women's equality issues and in education. And when my son was in high school, I found out that the school district where we live decided to water the curriculum down to make everybody feel that they are successful. And I was a little bit upset because remember, I knew everything that was going on in school. I was tutoring the kids, I was raising money for their band instrument, their band uniforms. So I went and talked to, I followed the rules. I went and talked to the teachers who knew me personally. And they told me that, Swati, please, I know what you're saying. We are equally upset. Could you please go and talk to the principal of the school? And he said, Swati, I cannot do anything. You have to go and talk to what they call educational service group. So I went to ESC and told them that I'm very unhappy with what they're doing. And I made one mistake. I made a mistake. I was so emotional as a mother that I told all those administrators that I was not worried about my Ajay because he already was doing well. I was little worried about my little Govind. And basically they looked at me and said to me, you need to get a life, Swati. You're too much involved in your two boys. And I was upset. I was upset. Who are they to tell me that I should get a life? If Arvind has a problem, he can tell me, and I may argue with him on it. But they had no right to tell that. But anyway, I came home. Next day, I called the superintendent and told him that I want to see him. But I think the administrative assistants already had told them what I was going to do. And so he exactly said same thing. He said, you know, Swati, you're so bright, so intelligent. I see all the potential in you. Get a life and get a job. And I was really upset. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to get a life because you asked me to. What should be my life is my job. And he said, so are you going to come and see the school board members? And I said, yes. And what he did, he said, Swati, if you're going to come and see the school board members, please do let me know if you're going to bring people with you. And I said, yeah, I'm planning to bring people with me. And he said, well, if it's more than 50, then please let me know because the school board meeting cannot hold more than 50. So I came home. I called all my friends who I was helping. I would help them pick up because they were working outside the home. I would pick up their kids, bring them home. Sometimes they would even stay with us and have food. But anyway, I went in front of the school board. My friends helped me. I mean, on the first day when we went in front of the board, there were 100 people, and those 100 people went into thousands. So to make a long story short, in the end, when I talked about the education system and what was wrong with it, the board president looked at me and said that, Swati, if you think, he said, if you think you know so much about education, you should run for school board. And I was passionate, and without knowing what I was doing, I said, yes, I will do it. And all these thousands of people started clapping. And I looked at Arvind and I said, what did I do? And he said, tomorrow's headline is Swati Dandekar running for school board. And it basically exactly that's what happened. So my career began because it was not planned that way. But I found out that when you are at the table, you can get lots of things done. And all of us are so intelligent. We all have passion. And that passion needs to be channeled into a political, especially in America, or in a political system where we can discuss it, talk about it, and be at the table. I'm a Democrat. Whether you want to be a Republican or a Democrat or independent, it's all up to you, because this is not for one party or another. This is, we all need to talk about our passion and talk to our elected officials why it is important, what you think is wrong, and how, but have an answer how you can change it. And that's what I did. And then it began, then of course people found out I'm a Democrat, that there is one Democrat who could win from a Republican district. And that was my district, and it was me, and it was very, very interesting. And my political career began because of that school board. And didn't get my PhD, did not go to France, became a person as a person who has passion and fights for women's equality and also for education, everybody's education. So those are my two passions.
Thank you so much. What a humble beginning for a stellar political career as of right now. Definitely, passion is necessary. Passion is for everybody for their own individuality. However, a politician usually is looked at not with a lot of respect. But one thing is for sure about Swati Dandekar, that with passion, she has a lot of compassion for the people that she's fighting for and the rights of the people, the human rights, the women's rights, and all these things are quite evident from her career. If you want to know a little more about it, you can definitely find more information. But one thing I was wanting to ask her, as she mentioned a little bit that there is still a glass ceiling for women in any corporate world or political career. First of all, before I go there, I would like to ask one question. That school board is fine, it's at a very small local level. From that, how would you go to a statewide election? And were you second guessing yourself? Were you afraid, or were you all poised to do there? I'm sure how people supported you, the Indian community as well as the American, because Iowa, there's not that many Indians really speaking as we think about in the big metropolis areas like New York or Chicago or San Francisco, LA. So it is very unique that coming from the state of Iowa, she was basically poised to be a state representative. I just would like to know a little bit about that particular inspiration, because school board is not really a political career as such. However, being a state representative certainly is, because you're responsible for a lot of people. So would you please enlighten us on that particular aspect of your career?
So thank you, Nitin. That's a wonderful question. I feel that political career always begins with passion. When people know you are there for them, when my passion started, I was not doing it for uh, my two boys, really. When I went on school board, um, both Ajay and Govind always even didn't even admit that I was their mom. They were on their own. But when you go into political career, I did face the first time I ran, and I'll tell you the story. The first time I ran for political office, people knew me. So as a state representative, my district knew me. They knew what I did for the community, how I would help people. So they knew that. And my being a Republican district, my opponent, she she presumed that she was going to win. And when the polls started saying that I was going to win this district, I was going to win by 10 points. Um, what happened is she reminded everybody that, and this happens to a woman of color, if you want to say that, she reminded everybody that I was different. I was different. My ethnicity was different. She reminded everybody that I grew up in Nagpur, India, and my grandparents and my great grandparents did not pledge the allegiance to United States flag. And I told them that's true, but I have never said that. I never pretended to be who. I always told them I came here in 1973, and I am who I am. And so it was, people were offended. I think what happens is when you have your passion, and I did go, I will tell you, Arvind and I used to knock on doors, and people saw me personally. I just did not uh, make phone calls. I went and knocked on people's door. Some people would say, would you like to have a drink of water? And I knocked on about 27,000 doors, household, 27,000 household. And I worked hard every day. I used to get up early, cook our dinner before we woke up. In the morning when Arvind used to go to work, I used to knock doors in my neighborhood. And then in the evening, both Arvind and I used to knock doors in rural parts of my district. And we respected everybody. They would ask me questions. And I did not say to people that, um, you know, I will just go stay in my neighborhood. I went and talked to everyone, and they appreciated that to me. And if I didn't know, they would ask me questions. And if I did not know an answer to a question, I would say, that's a very good question. I really cannot answer it. And I always tell people, citizens, doesn't matter whether you are in Iowa, Michigan, or Maryland, citizens are very respectful when you tell them, I really don't know this. Let me do my homework. I'll get back to you. And I did. I always did. I would ask them for their emails or their phone number, and I would call them back. And that's what I did. And I knocked on doors and worked hard. And not everybody was necessarily kind to me. I remember this one gentleman, I had knocked on his door and I said, I'm Swati Dandekar, and I'm running for, that's what they call me, Dandekar in Iowa. I'm running for Iowa State House District 36. And he said, well, young lady, move on. I do not vote for women. And I told him that, sir, do you know that my opponent is also a woman? And he said, well, thank you for telling me. I'll skip your race. So that was the first time. The second time when I ran for re-election, I went and back again and knocked on his door. And he said, come in, come in. He was of my father's age. He said, you have been a good girl, come in. And I didn't realize when his wife had called me for something when I was state representative, I helped them. I didn't say, did you vote for me or not? I just helped them. And when I went and knocked on door, he said, this time, though I'm Republican, you're going to get my vote, because I respected him as a human being. And at this moment, I think that's one thing I feel is lacking all over the world, where people forget that politicians are human beings. They have families. When they attack the family member, the husbands, the daughters, the sons, the daughter-in-laws, they feel bad because we are all human beings and we cannot be perfect. But that's one thing I feel my great-grandfather would say, Mote Baba would say, where is the humanity? Where Swati Dandekar, yes, you may not like something I say, but that doesn't mean you have to, a politician, and you cannot forget that they are human beings. They're just like you. And to me, that's one thing I'm right now working on, what I call bringing back the civility in the world of politics. I would like to do that too.
Thank you very much again for the wonderful explanation. I see a lot of people are asking questions and making comments, and I really want to thank the audience today as well for taking such a keen interest in this. I saw Dr. Bodhankar asking a question. Definitely, all of you will get opportunity to ask your questions and make your comments, because this is a public forum. This is Garze Marathi family. So you're all equal here, and we definitely would like to get your own perspective on this interview. Just a quick question. Obviously, you have touched this aspect a little bit, but being a woman, being Asian, being first generation immigrant with a lot of accent or whatever they call it, was it really difficult than any other person that to get into the politics? Because we know that now we have the first woman vice president in the history of the United States. But for you, there must have been a special struggle to be here. Just if you can explain a little bit, how did you overcome those hurdles?
So thank you for that question. Yes, you always have struggle. You always, being a woman and a woman of color, you always have struggle. But you always also have people who are there to support you. I had great mentors like Dick Myers. He's of my mom's age, and he still calls me a kid. Senator Mike Gronstall, Patty Judge, my friend Andy McGuire. You always have friends you can go to and talk about when you feel, or Senator Matt McCoy or Senator Wally Horn. Yes, you do have those issues, but I think I was taught by my parents and great grandparents and grandparents that, and Arvind also was always there for me. What you do is you don't forget that somebody said something, but you do not. Their goal is to make you weaker. But in my personality, that made me stronger. When somebody said, I don't think, when they, like, for example, one of the person who wanted to be commerce chair in Senate, I was the first woman to be a commerce chair. And he said, she's a woman, and will she be a good chair? And my, that time, my mentor, Mike Gronstall, told me that, Swati, don't let me down. Don't let me down. I'm doing it because I think you'll be a good commerce chair. And I worked hard. So I feel that the kind of issues I faced is always there. There's envy, there's jealousy, whatever you want to call it. And being a woman and woman of color, I always had to jump the higher bar. And there's nothing wrong, because I feel I'm paving a path for the younger generation, because they're going to say, if Swati Dandekar did it, X, Y, I'm going to use my cousin's son's name, Rohan, can do it also. That's what happens. And so yes, being the first person to be elected to an office, it has benefits, but it also, you have a lot more responsibility, because I was not only representing Swati Dandekar, or Dandekar, like they say in Iowa, I was representing Indian Americans, and I was representing Maharashtrian Americans, because they all knew that I came from state of Maharashtra.
Good. Thank you so much. Now let's turn a little bit to a piece of advice from you. So having achieved all these political heights, how would you tell people, how does one prepare oneself to enter, sustain and progress in US politics, or politics in general, because I'm sure you've studied the systems in other countries as well. Because we're all stalwarts in our own careers. आपलं सगळं कर्तृत्व आपण इथे पणाला लावलेलं आहे सगळ्या लोकांनी, आणि उच्च पदावरती पोहोचलेले आहेत सगळेजण. परंतु राजकारणापासून मराठी माणूस तरी जरा लांबच असतो. आणि ह्याकरता नवीन जनरेशनला तरी, जरी आपले फर्स्ट जनरेशनचे फारच हाताच्या बोटावर मोजण्या इतके लोक आहेत, very few people from your generation have entered in politics in the US. You have been an inspiration to a lot of people, younger people. But I would like to know, for the second generation, those who are born and brought up here, or in any other country for that matter, how does one prepare to get into politics? What is a path? What would you suggest that they should do to pursue that career, so to speak?
Well, thank you, and that's a big question. It's first, I'm going to say to the parents like you and me, जेव्हा तुमचा मुलगा किंवा मुलगी जेव्हा येतात आणि म्हणतात की आई बाबा, or मम्मी पप्पा, or mom and dad, like माझे मुलं म्हणतात, we would like to go into political arena, or please don't say to them, नको नको नको, तू डॉक्टर हो, इंजिनियर हो, लॉयर हो, त्याच्यात काही हे नाही आहे. That's not true, because let them be who they want to be. It is important that if they want to go into politics, let them go into politics, because that means they have the passion to do that. they understand. Me म्हणते की younger generation are prepared. They have seen how tough politics can be. But it is important that we let them go into world of politics. And for young generation, if you really want to go into politics, remember, even today in America, politics is considered, and for that matter, even in India or UK or Australia, it's a public service. You are telling the people and your family, I am choosing the line of public service. And when you do that, there are a couple of things you need to do is make sure you have support of your family. Because public service, जेव्हा मी जेव्हा politics मध्ये गेली, तेव्हा really basically I took care of my district, my Senate district, my state representative district first. They always came at the top of the list. So there is a huge sacrifice, not only on your part, but your family's part. And that's where I tell people, be kind to people who are in the world of politics, because not only they are sacrificing their time, their family is letting them make the public as their number one priority than family. And once we know that, we will be kind to the political people who are in political arena. We will be prepared, and this is for younger generation, that you will be prepared to work that hard. Think about it, not just taking care of your mom or dad or your brother or sister, or your uncle and aunts. Think about thousands and thousands of people. They are going to be your family. And I will, Nitin and Anand, I'll give you an example. One time when I was on school board, I had sinus infection and I had fever. And there was a phone call at 5:30 in the morning, सकाळी 5:30 वाजता फोन आला होता. आणि अरविंदनी सांगितलं की तिला खूप ताप आहे सध्या. I think, is it an emergency? तर इमर्जन्सी असेल तर मग मी तिला झोपेतून उठवतो. तर this young lady said, it is an emergency. आणि जेव्हा मी फोन उचलला तेव्हा to her it was an emergency. Her daughter, who was a kindergartner, could not get along well with the teacher. And she was so worried about her daughter, how her daughter will be treated by teacher. To her, it was an emergency. माझ्या मतेने मी तिला म्हटलं की let me see what I can do. And of course, I took care of it. But what you may not think as an emergency becomes an emergency. But you have to look at it from perspective of the people you are serving. So what happens is when people try to go into politics, they see only the, what I say, all the good things, like they are on TV talking, they are hobnobbing with maybe celebrities. All that is great, but it's the work that makes you a good public servant. And if that's what you want, the things you do behind the scenes, and if you're dedicated to that, and I think Maharashtrian community can do that, because आपण काय म्हणतो, आपले घरचे लोक म्हणतात, काम करा, modesty करा, व्यवस्थित करा. That's our upbringing. That's Maharashtrians' upbringing. So do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Doesn't matter where you live, whether in United States or in UK or India or Australia, we should be doing this.
Well, thank you very much again. Before I turn it over to attendees to ask their questions, one last question. आणि मराठी लोक नेहमी असं म्हणतात. इफ यू रिमेंबर, तुमचं जेव्हा फंडरेझर आपण शिकागोमध्ये अरेंज केलं होतं, त्याला मला बरेच लोकांनी प्रश्न विचारला, अरे ह्या तर आयवा मधले आहेत, आपला काय संबंध? म्हणजे हा प्रश्न जेन्युइन असू शकतो, परंतु देन आय हॅड टू टेल देम बिकॉज ऑफ माय एक्सपिरियन्स इन सोशल लाईफ हिअर दॅट नो, यू आर मिसिंग अ पॉइंट. यू आर मिसिंग अ पॉइंट हिअर दॅट शी इज रिप्रेझेंटिंग अस. अँड तुमचा आवाज जर पोहोचायला हवा असेल वॉशिंग्टन DC पर्यंत, तर आपल्याला हा एकच कॉन्ट्रिब्युट आहे, एकच मार्ग आहे की ज्या त्यांच्या कडूनच हे होऊ शकेल. आपल्याला तिथे काहीच कोणी विचारणार नाहीये तेव्हा. आणि आणखी आनंदाची गोष्ट अशी की when she ran for the Congress, I remember that she generated so much donation from people. आणि in the US there is no personal benefit, although it's absolutely illegal to draw any personal benefit from a political donation. There is a ceiling also on the dollar amount that an individual can give. So first of all, every politician has to be of a very clean character. अत्यंत स्वच्छ चारित्र्याचा मनुष्य असल्याशिवाय तो राजकारणात टिकत नाही. या देशात तरी माझ्या अनुभवामध्ये हे जास्त कसोशीने पाळलं जातं. आणि स्वातीताई हॅज डन इट सो मेनी टाइम्स. आय हॅव सीन की त्यांना नुसती गणपतीची मूर्ती द्यायची म्हटली तर त्यांना थांबा जरा, I don't want to take any personal gift from anybody. I mean, to that extent, she has become, in my experience, so clean and so cautious about how she represents herself in general public, because that's where she draws the respect from people. So anyhow, so just the last question from my side before I will hand it over to Sandeep Padde to conduct the Q&A from the audience. How does your political position help the community, the Indian community, the Marathi community? Just maybe some glimpses of that. I know many examples, but maybe people would like to hear from you.
So thank you for asking that question. And that's one thing I wanted to talk about. When somebody, whether it's an Indian American or American congressman like my congressman Matt Cartwright, who has helped us so much, Nitin, in lots of different ways. What happens is I tell people to get involved in world of politics. Tumhala jar वेळ नसेल to make phone calls or do other things, then if they call you, whatever you can afford, fundraiser madhe, whatever you can afford, you should write a check. Because people have to, when you write a check to me, like I had told Nitin, when you write a check to me, I have to say Nitin Joshini mala $50 दिले, $250 दिले की $1000 दिले. I have to say that. I have to say that to FEC. And so most of the people have to say that. And so it is important that, and of course in America, you have to be either green card holder or US citizen to contribute to a campaign. So those are very, very important. And what Nitin said is right. People don't understand if you help X, Y, and Z, whether it's Swati Dandekar or Congressman Matt Cartwright from Pennsylvania, जेव्हा तुम्हाला जरूर पडते तेव्हा, if you call me, like I have called Congressman Matt Cartwright so many times, मला काही मदत असली, whether it is simple things like visa or कोणाच्या आईला त्रास होत होता because she got no on visa, but she just wanted to come and see the grandchildren. I have done that. And आपले लोक ना, आणि मी नितीनला सुद्धा ही स्टोरी सांगितली होती. I remember one time, and again, go back to civility. नितीननी मला एका फॅमिलीसाठी फोन केला होता आणि मी त्यांना मनापासून मदत केली. But then नितीननी मला सांगितलं, when I was running for political office, नितीन म्हणे की स्वाती, you know them, तू खूप त्यांना मदत केली, तू फोन कर. आठवतं का नितीन ती सिच्युएशन? आणि मी त्यांना प्रेमाने फोन केला आणि आय थॉट की मी ताई वगैरे, आपण जसं त्या वयाने आपल्या माझ्या मोठ्या आहेत तर ताई वगैरे म्हटलं. बट हर थिंग वॉज, हर आन्सर टू मी इज, मला पॉलिटिकल लोक आवडत नाही आणि मी पैसे देणार नाही. आणि हा त्यांचा, आय वॉज टेकन अबॅक. I was really, I always tell people that, remember, we are human beings also. You can always give an excuse. Kadi konacha, I don't know, me, because the way I was raised, I thought, I'm sure that she had some kind of situation in the family that she couldn't give us money. And so that, but let's not do that. Let's not say ki amala politician avdat nahi. They are the ones who are at the table for you, and you have to develop connections with them. They are the ones who help you. So if you cannot, for some reason, if you cannot contribute, or for some reason you cannot make phone calls, you can always give them a good reason. Na? Sangla ki ह्या वेळेस मला जमणार नाही, whatever it is. People, political people understand it. But if आता मध्ये परवाच्या दिवशी, my friend Vidya Deshpande Joshi and Nitin was also there, Nitin Joshi, we did a fundraiser for Raja Krishnamurti in Chicago. Raja Krishnamurti mi bhetli ki pahle mala manto, I really like all that fundraiser you did from Maharashtra, and your food was so good. त्याला जास्ती foodचं important. He didn't say की तुम्ही इतके कमी केले, इतके जास्ती केले. He was so, मला अजूनही माहित नाही, नितीनला माहित नाही आम्ही किती exactly raise केले. To him, it is just that we were there in numbers and we showed up. And आम्ही त्यांना म्हटलं की थोड्या लोकांनी, like नितीन म्हणे मी फोन करीन वगैरे सगळं करीन. Those things were so important, right, for him. So it is, उद्या जर आपल्याला काही जरूर पडली, so it will be so easy for me to make a phone call to Raja Krishnamurti or to Nitin, or for example, आम्ही त्याच्यानंतर मी काँग्रेसमॅन मॅट कार्टराईटसाठी सुद्धा फोन केला होता, आणि सदा जोशी वगैरे माझे फ्रेंड्स आहेत, त्यांनी सगळ्यांनी मला मदत केली. Even yesterday when Congressman Matt Cartwright had called me for something totally different, he said, Swati, your Maharashtrian friends are so kind. I don't know how much money we raised, whether it was $2,000, $5,000, or $10,000. I have no idea, but they were very appreciative. So all I'm trying to say, do whatever you can do. तुम्ही जसं माझ्यासाठी करता, I will say की आपले लोक, I will also say की आपली आहे म्हणून जसं माझ्यासाठी करता, तसं ह्यांच्याकडे सुद्धा you look at आपले आहे, because we live in this country. हे सुद्धा आपले आहेत. उद्या आपल्याला जरूर पडली तर तेच मदत करतील. ऑफकोर्स मी आहे तुमची, पण हे सुद्धा आपले आहे असा आपण विचार केला पाहिजे.
अगदी बरोबर आहे. थँक्यू सो मच. आणि राजा कृष्णमूर्ती, तुम्हाला सांगतो जस्ट माहिती म्हणून की माझ्या मतदारसंघातून ते काँग्रेसमन निवडून आलेले आहेत, आणि स्वातीताईंनीच पुढाकार घेऊन त्यांचं फंडरेजर इथे केलं. आणि म्हणजे मराठी माणूस कशी इंडियन कम्युनिटीला मदत करू शकतो त्या लेवलला सुद्धा याचं एक उत्तम उदाहरण इथे आहे, आणि आय एम सो प्राऊड ऑफ हर फॉर दॅट. एनिवे, थँक्यू सो मच फॉर गिव्हिंग मी एन ऑपॉर्च्युनिटी टू आस्क क्वेश्चन्स अँड गेट एव्हरीबडी टुगेदर हिअर.
आणि नॅन्सी पेलोसीलाही माहिती आहे, राजा Krishnamurti went and told about us to Nancy.
मला एक प्रश्न विचारायचा होता नितीन. बिफोर संदीप टेक्स ओव्हर, संदीप आमचा बोर्ड ऑफ डायरेक्टर आहे, तो मॉनिटर करणार आहे. स्वातीताई, आपण नॉर्मली आपण मराठी, सॉरी अँबॅसेडर स्वाती, आपण मुलांना लहानपणापासून आपण इन्कल्केट करतो, दॅट इज हाऊ वी डू दॅट. सो आपण अशी काही स्पेशल मुलांकडे त्यांना स्टिम्युलेशन किंवा असं काही देणं जरुरीचं आहे का, की सो दॅट दे गेट इन्क्लाइंड टुवर्ड्स अ पॉलिटिकल करिअर? म्हणजे त्यांना शाळेच्या इलेक्शनला उभं करावं किंवा त्यांना काहीतरी विशेष एज्युकेशन किंवा विशेष रिसोर्सेस अवेलेबल करून द्यावेत, असं काही आहे का, की सो दॅट यू नो नेक्स्ट जनरेशन बिकम्स रेडी, वेल इन्फॉर्म्ड फॉर द पॉलिटिकल करिअर?
सो त्याचं मी पुस्तक वाचलं होतं जॉन एफ कॅनेडीचं. आणि when you look, I was very fascinated जेव्हा when I was here, I was used to घरी होती तर मी खूप पुस्तकं वाचायची. Of course, John F. Kennedyचं पुस्तक मी ह्याच्यासाठी वाचलं, because अरविंदला मी म्हटलं काय वाचू, he recommended, because I was fascinated by John F. Kennedy as a young girl in India. तर त्याच्यात त्यांनी सांगितलं की when you as parents or uncles and aunts, when you start talking about political issues, what are happening in today, आपल्या घरी, local level, national level, when you discuss it, they get interested in politics. They want to know. आणि त्याच्यात आपण म्हणतो ना, मग तो विचारेल किंवा ती विचारेल की आई बाबा, is this right or is this wrong? मग तुम्ही म्हणू शकतात की माझ्या मतेने, right? That's what I did that with my children. Whether they go into politics is different, but they are very much involved. they त्यांची आहे पॅमला जयपाल, त्यांची डिस्ट्रिक्ट मध्ये आहे, आणि आपली सावंत they live in Seattle area, so that's who is representing them. But they know what is right, what is म्हणजे त्यांच्या मताप्रमाणे. And I think that's what we should do. We should talk to our children, our grandchildren, what is happening in the world today, whether it's in United States or in India. मग तुम्ही discuss करता, मग ते त्यांची develop करतात. They might not agree with you on everything. जसं माझा, even my son and my daughter-in-law, both of the sons and daughter-in-laws, they always talk to their kids about politics, because you know then what's going on, and whether you run for an office is different, because त्याच्यासाठी तुम्हाला ती passion लागते, and I see lots of young men and women with those passions. But you are at the table because you can question the legislator. जसं आपण केलं होतं नितीन, तेव्हा उल्काने विचारलं होतं, right? She was wondering की there were some issues she had about which she thought that Raja needed to answer regarding his policy on India. She asked him those questions. So if you're involved, your kids start thinking about it, you start thinking about it, and they will have an answer. So then you know what to do. So to me, it is very important. That's why it's not a Democrat, it's not Republican. Look, I became a Democrat because I liked democratic policies, because they are pro-immigrants and pro-education, and they're caring. That's who they are. That's why I'm a Democrat. That doesn't mean that my friend cannot become a Republican. We all have our issues, and we need to do that. What's important to us. So.
Okay. Thank you. Before I hand it over to Sandeep, one thing I'm going to suggest to Swati and Anand also, we should actually hold a session for the youngsters to get some direct ideas from Swati as far as their future political career is concerned, or how they can do it. That would be really helpful. So this is just my personal thought as of right now. Once again, thank you very much. And Sandeep, you can take over now for the Q&A.
Thank you, Anand, and wonderful session, Swati. I mean, we are all really impressed. And माझ्यासाठी तर, for youngsters who came little late into this country, I believe that you are a idol for all of us to, look forward to and get guidance. So wonderful. Thank you once again. On behalf of GMG, now I'll start the question answer session. A couple of things for people who have asked questions. I made a note of them. I've already sorted them in the order in which you asked. तुम्ही तुमचं नाव आणि कुठून आहात एवढंच फक्त सांगा. Just the place and the name, and then ask your question. I'll first call out now Siddhi Patil. Please go ahead.
Hi, I'm Ambassador Dandekar. My name is Siddhi, and I'm from Seattle, Washington. And I'm a first-year political science student, and your path through the political system has been very inspiring to me. I wanted to ask, you've chaired the National Foundation for Women Legislators, and what would you say was the most impactful way you've empowered women to lead?
And so I'm going to repeat. So you wanted to know, as a chair of National Women Legislator, what I did. Is that what you are saying? Asking Siddhi? Yeah. I could not.
Yes, that is what I wanted to ask. What did you think was some of the most important work you did there as the chair?
Okay, so thank you very much. And so Siddhi, you know that National Foundation for Women Legislator is a bipartisan group. I want you to know that. It's both Republicans and Democrats, and I was elected by both Republicans and Democrats legislators all over United States to lead them. So that was quite an honor, because it's not easy to be a leader of both Republicans and Democrats. And my passion was, again, women's equality, education, and we also worked on immigration issues that time. To me, those three things were very, very important. I felt that, and I'm going to talk about immigration first. That time we had lots of refugees from Bosnia and Nepal and Bhutan, and I wanted to make sure that people were aware of them. It's important that their kids had a chance to get the education they should get, because we have great public education in United States, and so that was one. And women's equality is, I even today I feel, Siddhi, even today in corporate world, women are not paid for the same amount of work. And to me, that needs to change. The reason to me, if same work, then women should be paid in the same way, because then those are my passion. Whether I don't tell people that they have to agree with me all the time, but those were the things I worked on. And the other thing I worked on was the American Indian tribes, their healthcare system, and their education system was not up to the par. This is for those of you who are from UK and from Australia and India, we have what we call American Indian tribes, where they are like a foreign. They are in America, but they are like foreign nations. So, but I wanted to make sure that their kids had same kind of education that ours did, and I did that in Iowa. So I did that in nationally, especially. To me, that was very, very important. So.
Thank you, Swati. Just a time check for everyone. And is it okay if we extend? We are already on top
15
of
minutes.
hours.
15 minutes.
No,
15.
that's fine. No worries. You can do it.
Thank you.
You can do a little bit more if it's okay with
Yeah,
your.
we want everyone to come on screen, show themselves, as well as interact with you, because it's a great honor for everyone, and we want people to talk to you. So thank you for taking that extra time for us, Swati. I really appreciate it.
No worries.
I'll now invite Dr. Bodhankar, esteemed GMG member.
Thank you, Anandji, Nitinji, and Sandeep. It's my great honor. मैं मराठीत बोलतो कि आदरणीय स्वाती ताई is from India, Maharashtra, and then Nagpur. I am from Nagpur. I have privilege of knowing her relatives, Dr. Upatni Sahib, who was field surgeon, and Mande, त्या तुमचे मावशी आहे. It's an honor, madam. I was after Anand sir to have you. We are happy to have you. There are two questions here. One is because I was also related to the hierarchy in politics in India. I don't know whether you know Mr. Vasant Sate.
Yes.
He's my father-in-law. So he was with Indira Gandhi. So what major political difference you find between political scenario in India, US, number one, and secondly, whether you will answer who, like in pediatric, माझे धर्मगुरु आहेत विद्यासागर अमेरिकेमध्ये नागपूरमध्ये राहत आहे. Whom do you call as political guru in terms of USA politics, in terms of Indian politics? Two questions, please. And thank you.
So politics is differences मध्ये काही नाही. I always use, when I give speeches to a women organization, I tell them I'm proud that I am representing the oldest democracy, and I grew up in the largest democracy in the world. So when it comes to politics, it's a democracy. So things I tell them, democracy is a place where policies and whims and fancies can change according to the wind that wind is blowing. So that's what the great part about democracy, right? We let people think. And democracy to me is so important. It may look at times a little bit chaotic because we are a democracy, but that's the way it should be. I am proud to say that Maji Karma Bhumi ji ahe, the America hai, and it's a democratic country. and माझी जी जन्मभूमी आहे, that's also a democracy. So to me, that's wonderful. And I have lots of mentors, Dr. Bodhankar, and
Yes.
I don't want to name them because
I know.
एखाद्या लोकांना मी विसरली तर ते लोक मला फोन करून म्हणतील सो
Yeah.
आणि प्रेमाने
that's why.
म्हणतील मला प्रेमाने म्हणतील की ओ आय एम
That's
नॉट
why.
सो इम्पॉर्टंट
I know.
anymore. So they have always been very good to me. And one thing about India, I'm very proud that it's a democracy. But when I was first elected, I was Tarun Bharatच्या लोकांनी तेव्हा ते Dandekar hote. They thought I was related.
Anil Dandekar. Anil.
But I'm not. We are not related. We have a wonderful last name together. But I do not. I'm like I said. I'm very proud of India that it's a democracy, and they let us think. As vaccine pasun sagad फटाफट झाला because of the freedom we have. But ह्याच्या पलीकडे I do not comment on any of the India's politics because they are my friends everywhere. And I don't, me रोजच्या रोज पाहत नाही, so I'm not part of it. So thank you if you don't mind.
Thank you.
Okay. Just again time check 15 मिनिटं म्हटल्यामुळे मी अजून 10 मिनिटं आपण क्वेश्चन्स घेऊया आणि नंतर जे काही उरले ते आपण आम्ही पाठवू स्वातीताईंना and we'll make sure that you get the answers.
Absolutely.
Thank you, doctor. Milind, you can go ahead. Milind Kanetkar.
Sure, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. And I am Milind Kanetkar from Boston. It is really nice and encouraging for all people of all ages to know your journey, madam. And it's reminded me of me and my friends who did a presentation a couple of years back in front of our water board for our town to discuss water quality. I also joke with my daughter who is born on January 20th that it will be really cool to inaugurate a woman president on her own birthday.
Yes. Go for it.
So with that said, my question is, what's your take on today's political scenario than when you landed? And what would you do differently or advise people like us or my kids, or our kids to encourage them to enter into this space?
So, political scenarios change. When I came to United States, there were not very many Indian Americans, especially in Iowa. And so right now I feel when the younger generation, people like Sudhir Vanmali and others have, Gajanan Sabnis, they already have done a great job for us to show our presence, that the Indian Americans are here. They are here to stay. We work hard. We have good ethics, and Maharashtrian लोकांचं म्हणणार आहे have good ethics. I never ran away from my religion, Milind. मी लोकांना सांगितलं की मी हिंदू आहे, but also I was raised in a family where Sudhir Vanmali will tell you because he knows my family extremely well. म्हणजे माझी Upasni, Dr. Upasni, and even Dr. Bodhankar will know. They were very religious, but they were very progressive. And it was a very good combination. So Jema, you are confident of your own well-being, in sense, swatacha confidence, ki arrogance nahi. There is a big difference. I always tell my kids, there is a big difference between arrogance and confidence. Arrogance, I'm not talking about arrogance. I'm talking about confidence. So we have to teach our kids confidence that it's okay to be who we are. Does आपलं जे आपलं culture आहे ते, be confident of your culture. But when you have confidence of your own culture, it's very easy to honor somebody else's culture, be comfortable with it. be comfortable to let them come to your house. आणि आमच्याकडे माझ्या एक छोटीशी एक्झाम्पल, माझ्या आजीने त्याच्या फ्रेंड्सना सांगितलं होतं की दिवाळीच्या दिवशी तुम्ही लक्ष्मी पूजनला आलं तर माझी आई पैसे देईल म्हणून सगळ्यांना प्रॉमिस केलं होतं. सगळे लोक आपल्याकडे 10 मुलं येऊन गेले होते, तेव्हा मग लकीली माझ्याजवळ त्या दिवशी $5 बिल होते. So I could give $5 to everybody. And he said, Mom, I told them that you will give them money. Okay, Ajay, I hope I have enough money. And next year I reminded him, don't spread too many information about this, because then or tell me ahead of time, manje mommy change kyun yewu shakte. So, and then going back, I think things don't change. We have to have confidence, not arrogance. And we have to be like me, I said last time, talk politics, talk about water issues, like you said, talk about education. I always tell people, especially Apple local, don't focus only on negatives. Talk both positives and negatives. When you do that, then we are not perfect. आपण काय म्हणतो, माझे पणजी आणि पंजोबा म्हणायचे, नोबडी इज परफेक्ट. तर दुसऱ्या स्वतः मुसळेवर उभे राहून दुसऱ्यांचे कुसळ काढू नको असे मला ते समजवायचे. So teach them both good points and bad points, whether it's Republican, Democrats, or independent, whoever you have people in your community. And if they are doing something right, compliment them in front of your family. I mean, when I say family, lahan mulanche samor, so they will get interested in politics. And if there's doing something wrong, tell them why you think they're doing it wrong. That's how I did it with my two boys.
Okay.
Thank you.
Did I answer your question? Did I?
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah.
Okay.
Vikrant Karambelkar.
Namaskar. Thanks for the opportunity. My name is Vikrant Karambelkar. I'm from Mumbai, and I actually studied in Nagpur, so I have some connection to Nagpur as well, at Lakshminarayan Institute of Technology.
Yes, माझ्या बाबांची company. Yes, माझे बाबा गेले होते तिथे. Okay.
Great. And I moved to Canada, living here for the last 20 years, and I've been working and whatnot. Recently, what I realized, especially when the farmers' protests started in India, I was amazed to see the community, and especially the Sikh community, right or wrong, they got together here, they protested, they mobilized the force, they let the powers be known that there is a big force here. Of course, in Canada, they've been living here for 100 years, and even in the federal cabinet, some of the big posts are offered to the Sikh members of the community. My question to you is, why do you not see Maharashtrians anywhere in the public service? At least, especially when I see around, like it was very, very evident to me in Canada that there's nobody from Maharashtra that is out there. And so what stops us, in your opinion, getting out there?
I think that's because, and this is my perception, not right or wrong. It's just my feeling. Okay, hey, I'm not speaking on behalf of Marathis, but I think aple loko आपण engineers and doctors आणि technical ह्याच्यात line मध्ये आलो, आणि for some reason we bring this आपले मराठी लोक, and I still cannot answer that. आणि मी नितीनशी दरवेळेस बोलते तिच्या, we bring the baggage, saying की politics is not good, which is not true, because तुम्हीच doesn't matter. तुम्हाला जे काही हवं असेल लाईफ मध्ये, whether it's women's education, whether it's elderly care, you have to have a voice, right? म्हणून मी आणि आनंद आणि Dr. Bodhankar आणि Nitin Joshi, when we talked about that, that's why I said yes, because we need to be at the table. आणि मी दरवेळेस लोकांना म्हणते, लोक म्हणतात, oh, we should do it all together. No, it can start from you, Vikrant. It can start from you. कारण की you can talk to your friends. आज मी जेव्हा, when I ran for political office, I will tell you, कि India abroad did not even know I existed, because I was in Iowa, and माझ्या district मध्ये, if I count it's changed now. If I counted all the minorities, that means Indian Americans, African Americans, Latino Americans, मोजून 70 लोक होते. And they all tell me we voted for you. So I'm sure they voted for me because not only I won by 10%, Sudhir Vanmali has always been there for me because we are very close family friends. I won by 60%. In world of politics, 60% is landslide. But it has to start from somebody. And you could be that one. Instead of saying, I will wait for somebody else to do it. It's time for us to say, मी करतो आणि मी माझ्या फ्रेंड्सना माझ्या बरोबर हे करतो, convince करतो why it is important. And yes, I know what you're talking about, the Sikh community, कारण की त्या लोकांनी मला text message केले होते की Swati ji, just for your information, they didn't ask me to say ki tu kar amchaसाठी. They said we are just letting you know ki आम्ही करतोय.
Right. No, that's
and that happens in London also.
This is why today's meeting is there. To get inspiration from Ambassador Swati that we can do it. Am I right, Swati ji?
Yes, we can and we should. We can and we should.
Over to Sandeep.
Yes.
Sandeep, we are on the end of the nearly end of the
Yes. So what I will do, today I will take the liberty of being a moderator and allow one person I feel the question is more relevant and personal. For others, if you still feel whatever Swati Tayi has answered so far is not enough for the question you are looking for, feel free to reach out to us and we'll make sure that the question is answered. Pardon me for the time and constraint we are in. But I saw a question from Dr. Kiran and Alka Khanulkar, and I believe it's a personal question from a woman, if I'm not mistaken, which probably needs some more relevant answer. So over to you. Whoever is it, either Mr. Kiran or Mrs. Alka Khan?
Hello, and it's a pleasure to meet Ambassador Swati ji again. I met you in Fairfield, Iowa, and I'm from Keokuk, Iowa, and I also happen to serve on the school board for 8 years, and I totally concur with all that you have said. And currently, I just wanted to ask, do we always have to prove to be better than the best in whatever we do? Because somewhere along the lines, right now I'm coming in as the incoming district governor for Rotary District 6000. And of course, there are mentors and supporters of your work. But at certain times, there is always this doubt in their minds, that, oh, can she do it? Can she prove it? Will she be good enough to be, is this the person we have chosen? So how do you react to that? And I leave that and I focus on my work, and that's what we are here to serve. And this year's theme is to serve to change lives. And we have our, fortunately, or it's a great honor to have Rotary International President, Mr. Shekhar Mehta, who will be leading in the coming years. So what are your thoughts? I would like to invite you also to come and present at our district as well. And it'll be a great honor.
Sure, of course I will do it. Anything that's, no worries. Anand will share my phone number with you. He has all the information, Anand, Nitin. So that shouldn't be a problem. I always tell people, because as a trailblazer, Dr. Kiran, for sake of our kids, we don't want our kids, nobody's going to doubt our kids. When we cross that bar, I have talked to lots of my African American friends, women friends, and that bar is there. That bar is there. I always tell people, whether it's fair or not, I have got to the point that I don't discuss that anymore. I just feel that let's do it for our younger generation. And so young women like that, Miss Patil, Siddhi, she doesn't have to face that. So if you and I, because I look at myself and I look at you as a trailblazer. I think when we are trailblazer, that's the price we pay, but we are doing it for Siddhi Patil, Rohan Lambore. Though we are doing it for those kids. And of course, Rohan can call me Atya, makes a big difference for him. But to me, it is so important that we do it for them. Do I crush? Do I feel bad? Do I feel overwhelmed every time? Yes. So, but I always say to myself, if you are going to be a trailblazer for Siddhi and Rohan and few other kids who I don't know are here, then we have to do it for them. We have to do it for them. And do I get overwhelmed? Yes. Do I have tears in my eyes once in a while? Yes. Do I show it to the world? No.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Over to you, Anand.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Ambassador Swati and all participants. It was a really, an encouraging and inspiring 1 hour, 1.5 hours for all of us. Though there is a lot to learn, we have time limitations. I thank Ambassador Swati and Nitin and Sandeep for conducting this program. I thank Ambassador Swati for joining us here and advising us. And I take your permission to end the meeting. May I end the meeting?
Can I say something?
Yeah, please do.
I just want all of you to say thank you very much I'm so honored and that all of you joined us. And I know some of you wanted to ask me questions and we didn't get a chance. Maybe Anand, if you don't mind, you can give them my phone number. I have no problem. Yeah. And I can answer that question personally, or we can do some other webinar for a younger generation, like Nitin said. And I truly am very happy that some of the people I know, I was so fun to see them again. And Dr. Kiran, keep doing what you're doing, even if you get overwhelmed like I do, it's okay. We are doing it for our younger generation.
Thank
Namaste.
you.
Namaste.
Yeah,
Thank you everybody for attending.
Namaskar.
Really
Thanks.
appreciate it. Namaskar.
Namaskar.
Thanks a lot.
Namaskar.
All right.
Thank
Have a
you,
wonderful
Anand.
weekend.
Bye.